What happened when John Hughes' travel plans go awry? He writes a holiday classic in 3 days.
Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we take a look back at classic films that helped shape our generation. I'm Ed.
And I'm Thor, and today we're looking at 1987's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which was written, directed, and produced by John Hughes.
But first, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can know when the next video becomes available. All right, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a fantastic Thanksgiving comedy which involves Steve Martin's character, Neil Page, who is trying to get back to his family in Chicago for a great Thanksgiving dinner. Along the way, his travel plans get diverted. He hooks up with Dale Griffin, and hilarity ensues. Everything that you could imagine that could go wrong with trying to get from one location to another is just sabotaged. The planes available, the trains, they break down. The cars blow up. The only thing we're missing.
What could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking, like in Tommy Boy, we're just missing a deer that gets stuck in a car.
Yeah, really. That's one thing with John Hughes, as you noticed you said in Chicago, like every movie he does has some Chicago element, which is, of course, where he's from. And he always pays homage to it.
It's almost like a love letter to Chicago that he does
to
all these movies.
And several of the movies deal with the high school that he went to. It wasn't Shermer High, but anyway.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and talk about our two main characters? There's a lot of supporting roles, but with Steve Martin and John Candy, they are our two main focuses, whatever. So let's talk about Steve Martin and Neil Page.
Yeah, Steve Martin has always kind of been the everyman, but he does kind of always play kind of a highfalutin guy. Mm-hmm. But he's a New York executive. He's living he has a nice life, nice home, nice family, lives in a nice neighborhood, kind of like the soon-to-be house in Home Alone. It's kind of that same Chicago neighborhood.
Definitely.
But yeah, and so. Yeah, so whenever he gets kind of diverted, I think it's almost like he's used to kind of everything kind of going his way. Right. And when it doesn't go his way, he starts to lose it. Yes.
But I think his true self comes out when he starts to lose it.
Right.
And that's we'll talk about the character development. That's one thing we love talking about is the story arcs, character development. But he's trying to get there, and the first thing he runs into when he's trying to go for a cab against Kevin Bacon was Dale Griffith's trunk.
Yeah.
And he trips over it, so he misses the cab. That would help him get to the airport. I mean, really, the plane was going to be delayed anyway. So it doesn't matter how fast he got there.
Yeah.
But in the same Home Alone fashion, he got there just in the nick of time to get there. But who does he run into in the airport?
But Dale.
Yeah. Well, Dale gets his cab.
But then he runs in.
Well, yeah, because see, he trips over Dale's trunk. Then he tries to get another cab from a guy, a lawyer. I don't have a good nature. But anyway.
Any guy who is willing to pay $50 for a cab is certainly going to pay $75.
Not necessarily. Well, so during that transaction, Dale takes the cab.
Right, which honestly is the best deer in headlights look.
Yeah, Steve Martin catches up to him. He chases the cab down. And of course, it's New York. They're only going block to block, basically, especially during the 80s. And he rips open the cab door.
Yeah.
And the deer in the headlight, I'm like, what? That's my cab. Cab driver takes off.
Yeah.
So then, of course, at the airport, he runs straight into him, and he's looking at him, and he sees that deer in the headlight look as he recognizes it. And, I mean, I think that's a good exchange between the two of them when they first start talking to each other. Dale Griffith's like,
I know you. You look familiar.
Yeah. I normally can place a name, but I'll be darned if can't place yours. You stole my cab. He gets bumped from first class. Well, not really first class. I guess his seating assignment was 13A. And on the plane that they got transferred to, that puts him in coach.
Right.
So that's two things that have gone wrong for him. Didn't get his cab. Didn't get the right thing. So, but he's showing himself. You know, you bumped me there. You delayed the flight. Now you're not making me sit in first class. So he sits next to Dale Griffin.
Yeah, this was just destiny. Just destiny that he was going to be doing that.
And there's a deleted scene in there about the airplane when they're eating a meal, which is on the televised version. But the grossest part about it is when Dale takes off his shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my dogs are barking, this and that. And then he takes off his socks. And if that's not bad enough, then he starts flipping it around.
Well, you know that they were like, John, just start improvising. But, you know.
He had to have.
But, you know, we've always, I think, I know I have, but I've had people that I've been on airplanes with that they ended up taking their shoes off and just start stretching their feet out. And you're like,
why would you take your shoes off on an airplane? Seriously. Or on a bus or anywhere else where there's public transportation.
yeah, I don't know.
Now, I'll be honest. I'll confess. I like to talk a lot. And if you know me, you know me. I have been on a plane, not with the shoes, but I've been Dale Griffin, where I've talked some people's heads off, and they were like, not reading the vomit bag, but they were, and I was like, I even said, that's the cue for me not to stop talking. And she went, yep. Well, I'm a writer, and she was reading a book. I'm an author, and I was like, you know, that's funny because I can't read on the thing and get motion sickness or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's funny. You're reading a book, and I'm an author, and I'm not reading. And we start talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Back in her book, I'm like, oops.
Well, I've been.
I caught the clue. He didn't.
I've been Neil where I'll have my little iPad up watching a movie, and then the person beside me is like looking over my shoulder and trying to watch it. They go, "Oh, you like that too?" And I'm like,
do you mind? Do I know you? Those aren't pillows.
I'm like, do you need to borrow my other earbud?
Do you mind? Dale is, which we didn't say, he's a shower curtain ring salesman.
Yeah.
That is a very specific niche.
That is.
But obviously he's really good at it.
He is. Also turning it into jewelry.
So, when they get to the hotel room, obviously, and they get their cards, you can tell automatically that they got their card switched up.
Yeah.
Because Steve Martin pulls out his Diners Club card or something, Visa card, and the other, and they look real similar. And then the guy,
almost too similar. The
guy calls him the wrong name. Dale says, "This is my longtime friend, Neil Page. Nice to meet you, Nick."
Yeah. I don't care.
Well, Dale was trying to help him out.
Yeah.
Dale is very generous, trying to help him out. And so that's why I guess he said, "This is, my longtime friend," instead of going, "Hey, this is the guy I just met on the airplane, took his cab and stuff, help him out." So they get in there with that one bed, and Steve Martin's eyes go straight to it. Another funny part with that, the whole movie's hilarious. He's staring at the one bed, and John Candy goes, "You want to take a shower?" No.
Oh,
not me. No, I meant, "Do you want to grab a shower?"
So talking about the bathroom scene, this reminds me of every time my family would go to a hotel, and the kids would go in and they would go shower first because just get them out of the way, and they would use every towel that's in the bathroom. And they would just be all over the place. And
you can relate to that.
Oh, I totally can relate to that because the same thing that John Candy used all the towels and he was left.
Except for one hand towel.
Steve Martin
Was it a washcloth?
It was a washcloth that he was just drying off like this. And I've totally been in that position where I've gone in there. I'm like, seriously, one, hang it up, but one per person.
The hotel scene leads up to one of the most memorable scenes in the entire movie. The two pillow scene.
Right.
They go to bed at odds, which actually before that, Dale is trying to, and this must have been improvised, I'm guessing. I don't know. He's cracking his knuckles, cracking his neck, and he's
clearing his throat.
He's clearing his throat, doing all this sinus stuff. Neil Page just loses it. He gets out of bed. He's going to go sleep in the lobby. Well, then he just goes on a tirade against Dale.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're a miracle." He's like, "You stole my cab. You tore my ear off. Didn't you realize when I was reading the vomit bag that maybe, hey, this guy isn't interested?" or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm getting the quote wrong, but he just goes off, which then you really realize what a jerk he is.
Yes.
I mean, he was a jerk back in New York with a lot of this stuff, but unloading on Dale was just horrible. And then seeing Dale's face just kind of break down,
Well, and honestly, it was a powerful scene for Dale, and it was a great acting chops for John Candy very early in the movie, where you kind of got the message of the movie a little bit early on.
Mm-hmm.
That I would say normally something like this, I think you would see at the end of the film, because
Right.
that build up of just and just his whole of like, I like me, people like me, and I accept who I am.
Right.
Which is really the message of the film is actually of, I guess it's really Steve Martin's character accepting Dell for who he is.
Right.
But that's still a very powerful message to get that early in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Of just somebody saying, "Hey, look, I know I have flaws. I know I am imperfect, and I may bug people, but I like who I am, and people who know me like me as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you don't.
Yep.
Get over yourself."
And you can see Steve Martin, if we
Pulling back
pulling back, and he realizes,
and being an ass.
well, yeah, because when John Candy's like, I could be a cynic like you, but I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you're like, he was getting it off his chest,
Right.
which he should have still shut his mouth and just kept it in, but he was getting it off his chest, and then once he said it and it was out there, he couldn't take it back.
Right.
And how many times have we done that, or we wanted to do that? Someone's just doing whatever, and you just like, shut up, just be quiet, just stop talking,
Zip it.
And the bad thing is that's what people thought about me sometimes. When you see them walking off, you're like, dang it, ruin that.
But I like myself.
I like myself. And he even stumbles during that. He's like, I like myself, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, was that intentional, or did he get a frog in his throat? But it came off more powerful that he was, struggling, sincere that he was struggling with it.
Yeah.
So he gets back into bed, obviously, and then they wake up in the morning, back to this very iconic scene where Dale's like called, spooning.
Snuggled into
Yeah, and he's holding, Steve Martin's holding his hand over there, and John Candy kisses his ear, and Dale, why'd you kiss my ear? Huh? Why are you holding my hand? But Steve Martin didn't let go of his hand. He's like, why are you holding my hand?
What I think is,
He's still holding his hand. He's like, where's your other hand? Between two pillows.
those aren't pillows. Ah! Well, and honestly, you talk about not letting go. I mean, you gotta hold it for the comedic effect. I mean, that's where they're doing,
Yeah, because if he would have let go and said, "Oh, get off me! Wait, where's your other hand?"
you would not have got the punchline of the pillows.
No. Oh, how about them bears? You see that bears game? So when they go to the restaurant, they find out they were robbed.
Yeah.
So, and I think Dale, that's one of my favorite lines. Dale goes, "We were robbed," and Steve Martin, his whole voice changes. You think so? Well, after they get robbed, they have no money. Well, they have credit cards, but they have no money cash to really get where they need to go, get a cab and stuff like that. So, of course, Dale, being the world traveler, calls in yet another favor. He calls his buddy Gus. And he says, Gus's son will come pick us up. Well, this old beat-up Chevy comes up, and this guy, Dylan Baker, is his first film. He comes out, and Steve Martin and them were like, that's not him. I hope not. He comes out, and I'm Owen. He's doing all this facial stuff, and he shakes Dale's hand, and then he spits tobacco out and wipes his hand, and then grabs Steve Martin's hand. And you were telling me a fun fact about that.
Well, and that scene right there was actually, I don't know, it wasn't scripted. I mean, the scene wasn't going well. They weren't getting the reaction that they needed, and John Hughes had told Dylan to spit in your hand and shake his hand, which gave Steve Martin just like the oh,
Yeah.
and after the scene was cut, he hightailed it to the bathroom to go wash his hands real quick because he was just kind of grossed out by it.
I'd be grossed out too.
Yes, exactly.
I don't care if it's tobacco or not. You spit in your hand and shake my hand.
Exactly.
I mean, we're not kids anymore, or you're doing a special, promise.
So you talked about this one supporting character. There's a lot of supporting characters from a certain favorite film of yours.
Yes. There's 3 members of this cast that were in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris's father.
Who's at the board meeting?
He's at the board meeting. Yeah, he's at the board meeting in the beginning. They all have small roles. The smallest role actually is Ben Stein, who's the one who's famous for Bueller, stuff like that. And then Edie McClurg, she plays the car rental agent.
The most memorable supporting character, really.
But she plays Grace in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So, the scene with her in this movie, Steve Martin, this is one of the things that he signed on to the movie for. He drops 18 F-bombs in less than a minute.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she adds one right after that. But
this was the whole reason. If it wasn't for this scene, the movie would have been rated PG.
Yep, but it's rated R because of that 1 minute. And, I mean, it's impressive.
I still haven't seen...
It's like he's in the military.
Yeah, I've still not seen the television cut. Did they just cut that?
They cut that.
There's no... Because, I mean, how else... you're not...
I've seen it. I don't remember how much they cut it out, but it's not bleep, bleep, bleep. I think he goes to the... It's been a long time since I've seen the television version. I think he goes to the counter and says, my car wasn't there or whatever, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, almost the whole thing is cut out.
Yeah,
because you can't have it.
Well, you're not going to say fudging or just
when you can read his lips and his freak.
Plus, he enunciates it very well.
Yes, he does. He was getting his point across.
Yeah, but at that point though, his character had just had it. I mean, he just had it. He had to, because this wasn't just like the garage across the street. This was one where you had to go take the bus, 2 miles down the road, and he's walking in the snow, and he trips and falls, and he's coming in, he's soaking wet. He gets hooked up with Dell again.
Dell got a car.
They end up destroying the car, which honestly, that to me is one of, it's a simple, but it's so funny because they end up get turned around. Dell falls asleep. They get turned around. They end up going on the interstate the back way, the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And they come head on between 2 semis and they go right in between. But it's stupid, but I just laugh at because they both turn into like these skeletons as they're driving, and then Steve Martin looks at John Candy and he's in this devil outfit, just it's just.
What's funny about that, which is amazing, was studio executives showed up on set that day, and John Candy was walking around in the devil outfit like the whole time, and they're like, what in the world is going on? What kind of film are we making? But right before that happens, the reason he gets, going the wrong way is trying to take his jacket off.
Right.
And he gets it stuck on the little seat adjusters.
Yeah.
What's kind of ironic or funny, one time I was driving, and I was burning up in the truck, and I was like, let me take my jacket off. And I reached back to do that, and my arm got caught. I was like, because I was thinking in the movie, I'm like, how does that really ever happen? But my arm got caught, and I'm like, my immediate thought was to that. So, but I didn't do what he did. I pulled over, and I said,
well, that's the whole thing. I'm like, stop! Just stop! But
yeah, then you wouldn't have what you have.
You would not have what you had.
Which we got to talk about real quick, I know, was when they're going the wrong way, and the other family's driving on the correct side of the road, you're going the wrong way.
Sure.
He's like, he's probably drunk, How does he know which way we're going? Steve Martin's thinking, yeah. How does he know which way we're going? And he's like...
But right after that scene, and then the car catches on fire, and he loses his wallet. I mean, he's really kind of lost everything. And I'm really thinking, at this point because the car is really on Steve Martin's credit card because it had got swapped earlier. And I'm thinking, how much money is this trip costing him? But besides that, but it was at that point where basically I think Neil just kind of lost it. He was just kind of like, this, what else can happen to me at this trip? That it just started to become funny. That he and both Dale just kind of just started laughing at it. And I think that's kind of where Steve or Neil's character almost kind of like just accepted it all. I mean, he just like, all right, I'm just here for the ride now, because just bring it on. I'll take whatever you can give me because I'm just going to come out of this a better man,
But that car, do you realize that kind of looked like the same
Yes,
car?
I did.
As in Vacation?
Yeah.
Which was also by John Hughes.
Yeah, I kept on trying to read what type it was as it would pan over it.
It was a Chrysler.
Yeah.
And
what type of Chrysler?
Chrysler?
Yeah,
It's a Chrysler. I don't know.
Yeah. Green.
Because I was like, I don't remember a Chrysler looking like that with all the fake wood paneling and stuff, but there wasn't one. That was specially made.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, yeah, because they made it specifically to look like...
They made it to look like the Vacation Mobile?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It just wasn't a coincidence.
And then they show... The highway patrolman shows up, Michael McKean. Do you think this vehicle's road safe? Yes, I do, yeah. Funny enough, the radio still works.
Right.
Don't have any dash, don't have this.
The radio always works, except when you want it to work.
Let's real quick, kind of towards the end here, let's talk about the final character development. Dale's character, he stays the same throughout. In my opinion. He
Yeah.
I mean, how would he have changed? Because, I mean, he realized that, hey, especially when sitting in the burned out car in the middle of the night, he's like, I found a guy I like, but what did I do? I went overboard. So he realized he needs to pull it back, which is hard to do. The biggest character arc is Steve Martin.
It is. And so let's go back to Dale real quick.
Yeah.
I do think that Dale's arc is, so Dale's, he talks about his wife, and you initially think that he's trying to get back to his wife like Steve Martin is trying to get back to his. But then you find out that she's actually been dead.
What? No, I'm just kidding.
And that he's been carrying her around in that trunk the whole time. But no, he doesn't. Dale carries this big old trunk, but you never see what's in it.
Because he doesn't have a home.
Yeah, we think it's his dead wife. But you find out that she's been dead and that he's really homeless and he just kind of carries everything he has with him. But I think his arc, and maybe it's just because of Steve Martin's character, but I think that he almost accepts his situation because it's almost like he's trying to cover it up or pretend that she isn't there and that he's kind of by himself. And so I think that he actually, by the end of it, where he's like, look, yeah, I admit that she's gone. I'm accepting that. I'm going to stop running from. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's running to all these towns, hiding the fact that he doesn't want to accept the fact that his wife has passed away, and that he's still living like she's with him.
Right. He's always on his business trip.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't been home in years.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, Steve Martin's character, whenever he leaves him initially at the subway station or the L station, that he starts to put the pieces together of what he would say and how, yeah, exactly. I haven't been home in a while and I haven't, in years, and kind of realizing that.
Well, and think about that. How many real clues did he give? I mean, my wife likes me. Here's to the wives. He didn't really give any clues like, I haven't seen her in a long time, or, I mean, all he said was, I haven't been home in years.
Yeah.
The other stuff to me wouldn't lead to.
Oh, and I get that, but I think, again, tight script, tight story.
Right, yeah, maybe it was more drawn out before. But that's actually when Steve Martin's character changes right then, because when he gets on the L train and he's like, all right, see you later. And he's like, oh, like, thank God it's over.
Yeah.
You know, I'm finally separated. I'm going home to my family. So he's still relieved to be done with that whole situation. Then he puts two and two together. And then it's like, that's when he, because I mean, even when they separated and he was trying to get that car, whenever Dale showed up with the car, you know, he jabs at the, I don't know if it's a car rental guy or whoever's out there on the curb, the worker. You know, if I wanted a joke, I'd follow you into John, you know, and
right. Yeah,
help him up.
He deserved it. And that's, you know, Steve Martin's character. And I think initially you identify with him, just trying to, all right, I'm trying to get home to my wife, my family. And then he's put into these crazy situations. And you're like, well, how would I work on that? But then you do realize that, yeah, he's selfish. He's used to, and I think you also have a class situation here. You have very upper class with Steve Martin, and you have, you know, low to middle class with John Candy's character, and how Steve Martin really just looks down on Dale the whole time. Is not only is he a nuisance, but I'm better than this guy. Yeah. And I'm just going to put up with him because he's helping me, you know, he's a means to an end, you know. Yeah. But like I said, you really, you know, as watching the film, how much do you really like Steve Martin's character throughout that whole film? I think sometimes it's up and down. Like sometimes, like for me personally, you like him at the beginning, and then you realize that he's a jerk, and then, but he's put into these situations. Or how would I act? Well, maybe he's acting like you would. You may kind of have more sympathy for him, and then he says something again, or like you said to the taxi attendant, or just how he talks to Dell. You're like, no, you really are a jerk at heart, you know, and you're not a nice man. But thankfully, he does. His character arc does get redeemed. Like you said, he does have the biggest arc in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I only felt for him at the very beginning when he's like, I got to catch this plane. I got to go. Right. You know, and the other guy's like, you're trying to make it too early plane flight. You know, you should have pushed it. But then you feel for him. Like, I got to get there. And then things start happening to him. I mean, he even goes to the who ends up being the lawyer. Hey, I know this is your cab. You know, I feel you're good nature. So you're feeling for him. But then, you know, he just, and not even in the airport, whenever he is saying, hey, you took my cab and this and that, you know, it's whenever you're in that hotel room and he just unloads on Dell. Right. You're an absolute jerk. So, you know, but anyway.
Yeah. So, final thoughts.
You need to watch this movie every year at Thanksgiving, not because it's like the only Thanksgiving movie, because it is such an amazing movie. I mean, from the characters, from the quotes, to just the overall feel of the movie. You know, we all can kind of sympathize with some of our travel plans that maybe we've had in our own lives, right? And how things can go wrong and how things just seem to compound. But you rejoice because when you finally get to that final destination, you realize it's not about the travel and this and that. It's about family. It's about friendship. And, you know, he introduced Dale to his wife. You know, I'd like you to meet my friend. Right. So he'd been talking bad about the whole time. So his story arc, and he's like, I'd like you to meet my friend Dale. Right. So, yeah.
So I think that's exactly. That's where it comes in. It's all about relationships and trying to build the best ones possible.
All right. Well, tell us your thoughts on this movie, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. Just leave a comment, review, and also subscribe.
And then we'll see you next time, a Retro Film Review.
Bye.